My friends, the Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
This is a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to you, Lord. Jesus journeyed to a city called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd accompanied him. As he drew near to the gate of the city, a man who had died had been carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. A large crowd from the city was with her. When the Lord saw her, he was moved with pity for her and said to her, "Do not weep." He stepped forward and touched the coffin. At this the bearers halted, and he said, "Young man, I tell you, arise." The dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him to his mother. Fear seized them all, and they glorified God, exclaiming, "A great prophet has arisen in our midst, and God has visited his people." This report about him spread through the whole of Judea and all the surrounding region. My friends, the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Father Jason was presiding at a special Mass we had here last night at about 10:30 with myself and Father Scott Jabo of Prep and Villican celebrating. And I'll tell you about it in a minute. It was the end of a long day yesterday, First Friday, and Bishop Persico had just left a little bit before that. And during the Mass last night, I was just kind of gazing around at the church, thinking about all that had happened yesterday and all that happened under this roof. The first Friday of the month is my busiest day, mainly because it's the day that we take communion to the sick in their homes who generally cannot join us on Sundays. And I try to never schedule anything on that day so I'm not rushed when I go to visit these wonderful people and I get to spend some time with them. But out of 12 first Fridays of the year, just about every one has something come up, and we just then readjust the day, and that's fine, and we do. Although yesterday was the first time since I've been ordained that coming out of a person's house, I realized I'd locked the keys of my car inside. Luckily I had my old Buick, and the windows were partly down. You should have seen Marianne Desser wheel herself around her house looking for a hanger, as I've got the salad tongs through the window trying to pull up on this thingy. She had one coat hanger in the entire house, one. And praise baby Jesus in the manger, it worked. Took me half an hour, but I got it. We did it. She never wants communion ever again. But anyway, that's a poor thing. It was terrible. Anyway, after 8 o'clock Mass yesterday, we had the exposition of the Blessed Sacrament, and then we had a beautiful funeral for Tim Skorupski. It really was. This wonderful man was sick for a long, long time, and we should have had his funeral 12 times before. But it was a powerful celebration of his life. We prayed, we laughed, we sang, we cried. At the very beginning, I introduced the liturgy, explaining what happens, as I said, in the sacredness of this room, reminding Tim's family that this is a place of life. Later, then, the 8th graders came to rehearse for their graduation for Monday night. The staff from Villa Maria Academy then came in to prepare for their graduation, which was a thunderous celebration in the evening, last evening. But early in the day, the student body at Prep learned that a sophomore wrestler during a meet suffered a major injury and became paralyzed. So he was going to be having surgery, major surgery, last night in Akron to hopefully correct and maybe heal this. And the surgery went clear into early this morning, and I'm not sure what had happened. So we had 250 students and parents and friends who joined the Irish twin brother of this kid and to offer support. And we had this mass of vigil, of prayer and light, praying for the doctors, praying for this kid's family, and especially his brother. During this very late mass, I kind of looked out at the scared faces of all of these kids and their parents and these adults. Many of the Villa girls who came back after graduation in their graduation gowns, many didn't even know this kid. I didn't. Thinking about all that had happened yesterday under this roof. And I just wondered for a moment, just looking at these kids and these people, 10 after 11 last night, what do the atheists do? What do they do? You know, what happens under this roof not only gives us life, but even more so, it gets us through life. Knowing full well what happens from birth to death, God sent us His Son to help us get through life so that it can continue forever in His glory, where we will be forever free. This passage from Luke immediately follows the passage where the Roman centurion begs Jesus to heal his dying servant, whom he deeply cares for. And in that passage, the centurion says, "Lord, I am not worthy for you to enter under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed." Jesus was in awe of that centurion's faith and grants his request. The Lord cures his friend. So he leaves there and comes right to Nain. Now this is a little different though. No one approached Jesus to ask him to bring that young man back to life. More than likely, those people in Nain had absolutely no idea who Jesus was. He just happened to be traveling through and comes across this funeral procession. I am sure that we can all agree that the worst pain in life for a mother is to bury their child. Luke tells us he was moved with pity for her. Now, in the previous passage, Jesus healed that man's servant because of the faith that he witnessed. But here, Jesus responded to the pain and the suffering that he himself saw present. He responded to the very depths of human affliction, and he responded to her. He raised her son, and he gave him back to his mother. Luke does not record the response of the mother or describe her emotion. We can only just imagine. We can try, but I think such joy is just too powerful for even Luke to describe. All that we know is this: those two and their family and all those people were never the same again. They couldn't be. The Christ, the Messiah, Son of God, entered their lives, and he showed them that he is the giver of life. The dead man began to speak. The people proclaimed that God has visited his people. And the most important thing, so many others came to believe in him. It is very unlikely, my friends, that such a miraculous event will ever happen in our lives. And that's okay. It doesn't have to happen. We don't need a second chance at life. We already know what faith in Jesus Christ is capable of doing. We already know what awaits us when this life comes to an end. We already know what we need to do one day to rise and sing the glory of God. So we don't need a second chance at life. But we may need to clean up the one we have now. Each and every one of us, you, me, Pope Francis, have made mistake after mistake in our lives. The curse of being human. If this gospel, if our faith tells us anything at all, it is that Jesus is present to us at all times, especially in the darkest of times. And what happens under this roof empowers us to feel the presence of the all-loving Christ, leaving here then with confident strength to just get through life, but to do it with faith and with love. All that he ever asks of us is that we simply allow him to come into our lives and take care of us. Allow him to come into our hearts and to guide us. Allow him to surround our entire existence so that we may conquer all in this world that can keep us away from him. All that Jesus asks of those who believe in him is to let him lead us in this life, through this life, so that we can join him one day in the next. If we do, maybe we can bring others along with us. I wish you all God's peace.